I am good. Am I good? Is it all good? I recently.
Hold on. Can you hear me now? Hold on. We should. I didn't. I made a right mess of that. Let's try again. You should be able to hear me. You should be able to see me. You should be able to see Adam. You should be able to hear
Yeah.
Adam. Please, audio's
Well,
good.
one thing that frustrates me
Excellent.
actually is that I moved my office and where I was working because I sounded really tinny, like I was
Okay.
in a cardboard box, and yet I don't think my audio quality's changed. So I believe JD and Sam and that are looking into new kit or something to see if we can improve this because yeah, I still sound like I'm in a cardboard box.
I mean,
Not
it
something I'm
could
pleased with.
just be Teams, which isn't very nice to us sometimes.
Possibly,
So,
possibly. But
well,
then you
good.
sound good, so maybe
Yeah.
it's just my voice. Maybe I need to get a voice upgrade.
Maybe. Well, good evening to everybody in the chat as well. And they're saying it's been a while since we've seen you, Adam. So it has been,
Yes,
hasn't
a
it?
few weeks, few weeks. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. And we have a pretty exciting roadmap today. We've had a lot change, we've had a
Mm.
lot move, and a couple of new nice additions.
Yes, yeah, lots of movement. Sam was very pleased actually.
Yeah. Now, before we get started, I just want to clear up any confusion with regards to today's updates. I know that it hasn't necessarily been as smooth as normal, so I just want to give everybody a quick heads up with where we're at, what updates you should have had, and if there's anything missing at the moment, when you can expect it. So, PC users, you should have had everything by now. That includes a core update, along with the Boston Dresden fixes, updates, improvements, and the Meissen branch. Um, PlayStation 4, you will have had the core update, and the second update you were initially only supposed to have one, but the second update you've had should have given you access to the Dresden, Boston updates, and the Meissen branch. I'm still waiting for some more confirmation from the community with regards to whether or not the Meissen branch was activated during that update. If it was, please let me know. If it wasn't, equally, please let me know. Because if it hasn't been activated, I will go chase after some people and see what's gone on there.
It's definitely meant to be activated.
It's
Yeah.
meant to have been activated, yes. So you should have had it. So if you don't, I will find out why that hasn't happened. Now, the PlayStation 5 and Xbox users, this is both Xbox One and Xbox Series XS, you'll have had the core update, but you won't have had the Boston Dresden fixes yet or the Meissen branch. And that is due soon. I can't give you an exact time frame. We're hoping it'll be today. If it doesn't end up coming out today, I will let you know in the thread that is currently on the forums with regards to today's update. And a lot of people in the chat are saying that Meissen isn't there for PS4, so I will chase up with that after this stream and see what's gone on there. So that's it for the updates. And someone said, saying it's gone out smooth like normal. You're right, it doesn't often go out very smooth, does it? That's kind of wishful thinking at this point. But yeah, hopefully it'll be smoother going forward. Now, Adam, we've got some fun things to talk to with regards to the preservation group, but you know what I'm yeah, Adam knows what I'm about to talk to him about.
Well, I guess it's the best thing to do is get it out of the way. It's slightly embarrassing. Yeah,
It
yeah.
is. It is. So if we're talking about things that didn't go smoothly, as many of you noticed, and as a lot of people got excited about today in the roadmap article, there was a point which was said to be, we added in an addition to the roadmap, Dovetail Livery Mastery Rewards. This was a typo, and it should have read Dovetail Live Mastery Rewards.
Obviously, Dovetail Live being the mechanism where all the mastery occurs.
Now, Adam, what happened there?
So this is a real simple thing of railway terminology and general communication. Obviously, I'm working in many different spaces and providing an update to the community team to write the roadmap for this week. I obviously was thinking one thing, writing another. And yeah, instead of writing, we're also working on Dovetail Live Mastery Rewards, I wrote, we're working on Dovetail Livery Mastery. And then that obviously got turned into the article.
And then,
And Sam sent the article round for everyone to review, and I'm looking at it going, "Oh, that's cool," because my preservation crew team do some of the Dovetail Live Mastery, but we don't do all of it. There are actually other departments, creative services and stuff, that provide things like the decals and the challenge mechanisms. So I read this. Oh, Dovetail, they're doing mastery, they're doing liveries, they're doing skins, train skins
and
for the
someone in the
mastery.
chat, witty username, said, "Does no one proofread these?" Well, we did
We
proofread
did,
it. We all
yeah.
thought it was a great idea.
Yeah, so I'm thinking, well, that must be part of the Dovetail Live team. They've come up with this cool idea. So I was like, wow, that's really cool. And then yeah, we're watching everyone's excitement at this, the reaction to this entry onto the roadmap. And JD was like, okay, so can you tell me more? What's this about then? And we're all sitting there going, yeah, what's this about? And of course, it didn't actually belong to anybody. So we're all sitting there going, oh. So we looked back through all the communication, and yeah, I'd in my update of what the preservation crew were working on, I'd written RY on the end of Dovetail Live Mastery Rewards. And that's where it all went horribly wrong in the articles. So yes, I do apologise profusely that we are not working on additional train skins for the mastery. However, we were very quick to discuss that, hey, this actually looks like a really exciting thing. This is something that clearly has an audience.
Before we go into that, we must say that at this point, what we're talking about now is very much a case of wishful thinking. This is what we would like to do, because obviously the community you've all expressed an interest in this. Like, it was very clear everybody was excited about this typo, but it's obviously made us think, well, if there's an appetite for this, how achievable is it? Now, this is not a promise that anything is going to happen, but
no, Adam, it's definitely not on the roadmap at the moment.
No, but definitely if we could, how feasible is it to implement something like that? And it's actually opened a discussion with regards to mastery as a whole, hasn't it?
Yes, well, we're always interested because mastery is there as a mechanism to provide motivation to try out different areas of routes and trains. If you're not quite sure what it is you want to enjoy on a particular session, it's kind of here's something you can go and do. Here's an idea to go and play with. Now, if the motivation is not there with the current rewards that we're doing, we're always open to what new rewards. What do players want to enjoy? What do they want? So yeah, that's given some really good food for thought about what we can do with the tool. And in all fairness, since the UFO and the dinosaurs of recent routes, we have been looking at what other scenes we can do and how the preserve crew can get involved in doing mastery. And so we do have some other cool ideas and approaches ourselves that we're going to trial actually in the routes coming up at the moment. So yeah, there's always stuff moving. We're always really excited to read your feedback. So yeah, loving the conversation at the moment.
Yeah, because we are aware that some people in the community definitely have made it clear how you don't really enjoy mastery, and sometimes it can feel like a chore, or that what you're doing isn't worth the rewards. So you know, we really value the feedback with regards to mastery, because we want to make it more enjoyable for you all. And we'd like it if you felt like, you know, you're spending your time, you're doing these tasks, and then you get something nicer out of it, or something that you find you get more use out of. So do keep giving us the feedback with regards to mastery. And we will continue to try and improve it, because I think it's definitely come on since when I first started. It's much different now to what it was.
Yeah, and that, you know, this is one of the things that I love about the position we're in with Train Sim World and with the first Train Sim, is that we can react and bring out new stuff. We can change based on your feedback. So yeah, keep posting those threads, keep having those discussions. We do read them all, even if we don't respond. So yeah, we do pay attention.
Dr. Bart said, why not give us some of the liveries that were submitted to various contests as mastery reward? I'd love it.
That has indeed been proposed. I don't think we came up with any necessary blockers to doing it, but we just haven't actioned it yet. Doing train skins It's just not on the radar at the moment for a reward in mastery. But yeah, that proposal has come before, and it is a good one.
So yeah, hopefully we'll eventually be able to give you some more concrete answers to that. But that's what we'd like to do with mastery.
Mm. Yeah,
now,
definitely.
Adam, obviously we haven't had you on in a while. How's the preservation crew getting on? What have you been up to? Because obviously it's been all steam ahead for rush hour. But that's starting to calm down a bit now, which means we're all turning to you now. Adam, what have you been up to? What have you been doing? Tell us. What's the preservation crew up to?
So we previously obviously hinted at and gave a few details that we're working on Peninsula Corridor and Oakville subdivision. So definitely pleased to report that standard feature upgrade wise, we're pretty much complete on those routes now. So we've got things like PIS installed, which is the platform information systems. We've got road traffic and animated level crossings installed. In fact, Oakville had something like 45, no, maybe it was in the region of 60 level crossings, obviously across the industrial estate. And not all of them, I might add, because some roads they just didn't have crossings. So we definitely used a lot of Street View, a lot of reference to make sure we were installing it appropriately. But also in both of those routes, I believe we have some new crossing assets. So where the level crossings, or the grade crossings, I should say, are wider than say just a simple 2-lane road, one up, one down. We've created wider crossing assets as well. So things like overhead gantries with lights on, so that's really cool. Enjoying those. But we've also been doing things like the Sky mod. So we've been still working on the one by London Midland by Josh. We got in contact with him, and we've now been testing that across a much wider range of the routes and trains in Trenton World, and we have actually come across an issue where it damages the light rain weather pattern. This is the much higher resolution clouds that feature in some screenshots.
Can I just ask you about you mentioned that you've got London Midland helping you with a Skybox.
Mm-hmm.
Is this the first time you've approached a community member with regards to help like this? And has it been going well? Is it something you'd like to do more of?
I don't think it is the first time, but it's one of those ones where it just stood out so much, and there was so much enjoyment around this community mod that we did get in touch with Josh and said, look, we're really interested in putting this in. We think you've done a really great thing. Yep. And you've managed to tweak some settings that we haven't. So yeah, let's get involved and let's work this out. And he was really kind. He was really good. The communication was great. He gave us instructions of what he'd done. Mm-hmm. He went through, he gave us the source material that he'd worked with. And then we ran through with some tests of our own. Yeah. And obviously we have to do a much wider range of tests. Obviously. Because we've got to roll it out across a number of routes, well, all the routes, in fact, and all of our platforms and everything. So we need to make sure that there isn't any damage. And in doing that process, we have found that it causes some issues on a certain way of the pattern. But yeah, absolutely, we're interested in this kind of stuff. I wouldn't say that we want to be flooded with community mods because we do have a full schedule of things we want to do. But yeah. I guess we are always, watching the community, and we know there are some incredibly talented people out there. Majority of the team, I would say, came from being game developers in their personal time in the first place, because this is a passion. This is what we love to do. We recently had the Joe on stream, and he obviously explained how his background was as a player first, and then now he's creating timetables for Traits and Mods. So definitely encourage people to create things in their spare time. You'll probably find actually that maybe potentially as high as half of the team could have been approached as they were doing something amazing out in the games community, and the Dovetail talent and attraction guys and girls spotted them and said, look, we've got some permit positions open at Dovetail. Do you want to come and interview for them? So we're actually actively looking in the community for talent as well. So if you're doing great stuff, we may well see it. So yeah, it's awesome.
It is awesome. Now, shall we talk about some things that have happened in today's roadmap? Because obviously,
Yeah.
there's been a fair bit of movement.
Mm.
So in next arrival,
Now that rush hour is out of the way, everything else is kind of
exactly. Now rush hour's out of the way. We've got a lot of things going on. Although, on the topic of rush hour, the Meissen branch should now be available, or it'll be available imminently for some of our console users. Have you had a chance to have a go of it, Adam?
Unfortunately, I haven't. No, because we've been refocusing what the preservation crew's up to. So actually, I've spent several weeks of just doing a lot of management work, and also helping third parties with developments.
Okay.
So I haven't had much time to play the game myself. So I'll be reading the forums and looking at people's reactions as well.
Excellent. Now, a few other things that have popped into Next Arrival are the 1938 Tube Stock, which is developed by Rivet Games. I think we have a stream for that on Friday, where everybody can have a bit of a look at it. Then we also have the DB BR187, which has come into Next Arrival. That's developed by Skyhook Games.
Mm.
We have obviously the Brighton Mainline London Victoria, which is that's the London
The last
Commuter,
of
right?
the rush hour.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's the last one. Sorry, it's got a
Commuter.
different name on the roadmap. And then
Personally, I think it's got a better name on the roadmap.
Yeah, it's got a bit more detail on the roadmap, but my head's like.
But there are a lot of people that worry about how our routes are seen and how they're understood. So I'm sure it is a worthwhile change.
Yeah, and as everybody knows, that is available on Thursday.
Mm.
And then we've got improvement rush hour passenger systems for Bakerloo Line. And rush hour passenger systems for, I'm not going to even attempt to pronounce the first part.
Schnellverstreck. At least that's the way I understand
Yeah,
it.
thank you.
Schnellverstreck.
Bless you. Konachen. Now, you've had an input in that, haven't you, Adam? That's
Yes.
you. Now,
that was definitely my team, yeah.
Initially, this was due to be released with the rush hour, the initial rush hour release, wasn't it? The core update, but it didn't quite make it into that build. Are you able to give us any details on that?
Only that there was an understanding that it needed to be done.
Yep.
But there was a breakdown in communication between the main team working on that feature and the preservation crew working on something that was for a main team release. Obviously, we work on different time frames on the preserve crew because we haven't got like that main release coming up each time. So we're happily away doing our own thing, and then it was like, oh, you need to we need your help doing the rush hour stuff. So actually, what we have done in response to missing that is really put our heads down and gone through and done every single route. With the rush hour passenger update. Now, obviously, we're getting these two out now because that was what was promised. But I can confirm that the rush hour passenger update has been applied to every single route now in the preserve collection prior to rush hour, the first rush hour coming out.
So I imagine that's
they're now
actually
queued up.
Has that been quite timely? Because obviously the rush hour passenger density, it's supposed to sort of replicate what it would be like during those busy periods, right?
Yes.
Have you achieved that on the other routes?
Yes. So basically what you can do in Train Sim World 2 is you've got a graph of time and density, and you can basically draw a busy period, and then there's obviously a trough with quiet, and then it goes back into a busy period again. Now, we've not done that identically with every single route, because things like West Somerset Railway, which is a preserve line, obviously won't have necessarily peak and off-peak periods. That more be like winter versus summer instead of time of day. And then things like Sandpatch Grade or Clinchfield that actually don't have passengers at all, so we don't need to implement it on those routes. But yeah, we have gone through and we've implemented that feature. The only thing we didn't add, which was a step beyond the scope of what we were being asked for, is the little diorama scenes. So I believe there are scenes of railway workers, or there might be somebody painting a piece of furniture or something. But little scenes of characters, we haven't put those in. That requires a lot more work to go into each route. But basically, the reason we've done that, where we've gone through every single route with the Rush Hour passenger upgrade, is because our focus in the Preserve crew now is not necessarily on doing deep dives on a per route basis.
Can you explain what
Peninsula
you mean by
Corridor. So basically, previously I was describing that we would spend about a month looking at an individual route, and we would dive in, we'd really pick it apart, kick every stone over, have a look, read all the feedback related to that particular route or that train, and come up with a list of what we can achieve, what would be in scope for that month. And we would then work on that. And obviously over the course of the last year now, we've worked through about 12 routes. And there are 18 or 19, I think, that were on our list originally. Now, that means that even after a year, we still haven't upgraded some routes. And there's definitely been feedback that this process is taking too long. And we totally understand.
This is something we've discussed as well internally, isn't it? That the fact that, you've done these updates, and I think the community are well aware of this now, that, it takes a long time for it to come out, and it's not really working.
Yeah, well, it's not working in the sense that, one, it's taken a long time to get through the back catalogue, but also there's a disconnect between my team completing the work and that those upgrades, those improvements actually getting rolled out. So there's two things that there's two areas that we need to address there. Obviously, the long-standing issue of being able to deliver stuff once it's been done, that is still something that is ongoing. We're still trying to improve, and we will only have improved it when we start regularly delivering our updates. But in terms of being able to get through the routes faster, what we've effectively decided, and this is something that came out of Matt and his recent promotion, getting more powers from the executive side, is he'd like to see us really complete all the core feature upgrades to the remaining routes on the Preserve collection. So that's things like getting the level crossings installed, getting the skies updated,
is that things
improving
like PIS?
the weather. That is a little more time consuming, but yes.
It falls under the same category, but that's slightly more time consuming.
Well, what I've been spending a lot of time, where I was saying that I've spent a lot of time doing management work at the moment, is we've got some really easy, quick wins on the routes. So getting the better rendering track in, that's a very quick process. Updating to the new Skybox, that's a very quick process. Something like adding the PIS system, the passenger information system, just one level of it is getting the artwork into the stations. Another level is making sure that it's displaying text. And then another level is ensuring that the data that powers those boards that show when the trains are is actually present. And on a lot of the older routes, their timetables don't have that data.
Right.
So while we can very quickly get, say, the display boards into the route, we're still working on exactly how long is it going to take us to put the data into the timetables. So it's
something you definitely want to do and you're working to do, but it's not as quick as perhaps some other features.
So I've been working on how do we balance this so that we get as much of the routes upgraded and all these features upgraded, because really what we want to do is, once every route has got its upgrade, get that route out, get those updates out. So I've been doing a lot of management side of stuff related to that.
I think we see it requested quite a lot, really, with the authentic PIS. It is something that the community do want. So it's good to know what's taking the time there, really.
Well, to give you a heads up, we've talked about I'm not going to be available for the next roadmap stream. So we've put forward one of the team you've seen before on I think it was the Glasgow Cathcart 4-up challenge.
Yes.
Is Adam Zsikowski.
So we're replacing one Adam with another Adam.
Well, I couldn't let things go too far away. So yeah, yeah, definitely. And he will be able to give some insight into what it takes to do some of this stuff, because he's literally the person responsible for implementing it. So yeah, that should be a really good next roadmap stream is where we get into that detail. But yeah, it's things like that. So at the moment, I've got Northern Transpennine,
Yep.
Great Western Express,
Yep.
Tees Valley Line,
Yep.
Hapstreck Rhine-Ruhr, Rhine-Ruhr Osten,
Mhm.
West Somerset,
Mhm.
East Coastway, Schnellverstreck Cologne,
Well pronounced.
Long Island Railroad, and Rursig Nord are all on the list at the moment, getting their upgrades, and they're going through the features. So Rursig is the most advanced, and things like Schnellverstreck Cologne is actually the main thing it needs is the PIS. And Long Island Railroad, the main thing it needs is the grade crossings. So some of this stuff has been going quite well already. Some routes need a lot of upgrades. Some routes only need one or two features. But that is our new focus, basically. Instead of focusing an entire month on one route, we're going to be focusing on implementation of a feature across all the routes.
Now, I have a couple of questions from the chat, if that's okay. Some of them, I believe you will have the answer to. Some of them, perhaps not. Now,
Well, that's why we're here.
Sebastian Coloni's asked, what about brand new routes and new countries? Now, obviously, you're not part of the main team, you're the preserve team. But if you're updating something like a feature or the PIS or even the crossings, for example, is the work you're doing as part of the preserve team, can that be ported over to the main team when we're creating new stuff? And does it mean that those features will become a standard in future routes, or is that something we're aiming to do? Do you know?
Absolutely. No, it is definitely a two-way street. The preserve crew has more capacity on some aspects to be able to dive in and solve some problems maybe that were holding back a feature implementation on the main team.
Yep.
So yeah, definitely we're learning from them with the new features they develop, and they are going back to other features and bringing them forward because of the work we've done. So some of the lessons we learnt in the implementation of the passenger information systems have then been rolled into how the main team take those systems going forward. And you know, there's going to be more from Adam. Adam is very central to a lot of these processes, so he's going to be able to give you quite a bit of detail on that. But yes, it's definitely a two-way street.
Now, L44EL Blue has just said wet platforms. Now, I actually know exactly what they're talking about, even though it's I think you know as well. Obviously, the LGV had wonderful wet platforms during the rain, and this is something that I've seen asked a lot for on other routes, and something that I believe the community would like to see implemented. Last I heard, the reason we've been having difficulty with it is because there are some areas where it's sheltered and it gets wet even though it shouldn't. What's the latest with wet platforms? First of all, can it be done, and is it being worked on?
So it's a yes and no answer,
Okay.
Because actually, again, it's one of those where we have to investigate on a case-by-case basis. It boils down to how the station or the particular platform was built art-wise in the first place. Some of the newer stations are built very modular, or the platforms are separate from the rest of the model. And this is definitely an area that Adam is a lot more expertise. But basically, some of the older routes, the platform might have been built in a modular system, so they're actually sections of platforms rather than one continuous single piece. And that becomes a problem because if a platform shares a texture across its surface, you can't do that detailed rain effect. Whereas the more modern routes, the newer routes, they might have built the platform as a single piece, and therefore you can paint the detail of the wet platform. So it's actually a case-by-case basis. But that is something that Adam Schikowski did work on as one of his little projects. And we are going through, that is one of the key features. If it can be implemented on a route, then we are taking that forward.
Now, Tom Amesley has asked, Adam, if we have a suggestion for a preserve collection route, and I'm assuming that's a sort of feature upgrade or something they'd like to see improved, how do they send it to you? Now, the forums is the place to go, isn't it, Adam?
Yeah, I mean, if everyone's already sharing a community mod and there are a lot of people enjoying it and it works really well, then we will probably get a hold of it as well.
Yeah.
See how it works, play with it, see what the impact is, and then yeah, if it's something that we think can go forward, then we will approach the person who provided it and say, hey, this is really cool.
And the other thing is as well, the community team, obviously we're always on the forums, we're always watching everything. So if you post a suggestion and enough of you show an overwhelming amount of support, we are obviously going to go, Adam, have you seen this? And
Well, it's not
we'll make
necessarily
sure
me
we'll
because
point his head in the right direction and go, Adam, you need to look at that.
yeah, well, actually, in this one, it was Matt Pedalston saying this is something I'd like us to investigate because actually this is a core upgrade for the improved clouds. It's not something that we needed to do necessarily on the preserve crew, so it was just something that the preserve crew had the capacity to pick up and take a look at. But I guess it needs to be qualified with someone. It's no good making an improvement or making a modification and then just saying, hey, Dovetail should run with this. We're obviously looking at popularity of community mods, not necessarily what the mod did. So if something is popular, we're more likely to pick it up if it works.
Alrighty. Now, let's head back to some more roadmap stuff that's happened today. Obviously, we're going into upcoming now, and I think everybody will be happy to see that the 313 has finally moved into upcoming. Now, as everybody knows,
this is a classic situation of development, really, games development. Before the roadmap, this stuff happened all the time. You just didn't see it. So projects do move around, things do happen, issues do arise that cause delays. So the fact that it's been on the roadmap for a long time is not really any indication of it's taken that long to develop. It's just that was what happened to that project in the grand scheme of things.
Yeah, because
it's a great little train. I'm definitely looking forward to it now that it is close to being released.
And it was one of the first items on the roadmap, if I remember correctly. It has been on there so long. Obviously, since then we've learned quite a lot with regards to the roadmap, when to add things, when not to add things, obviously. So yeah.
But obviously, when we added it, we had no idea that larger factors would play a role in moving it around.
No, exactly.
So it's not really. There's no real blame or fault or error going on here. That project has just seen more movement than is usual when we produce stuff.
Absolutely. And I know that everybody's excited about it because there was a tiny weeny picture of it posted.
Yes, I saw that as well.
And you all spotted it. And all right, I tried looking for it in the same picture, and I had to zoom in 250% to spot it. So I was so impressed you all found it.
Well, Joe is quite the timetable developer. Very impressed with the work he's been doing, and yeah. Almost every screenshot of a timetable that he's produced, I'm going, what's new? What is he added?
Yeah.
There's going to be a new train in here somewhere. He's managed to get another layer in there. So yeah, really impressed with what he's been doing with those layers.
Bobber said, could we get an example? What was so long, like the 313? So I'm going to assume you mean, can we get an example of another situation where perhaps it's taken that long? Do we have one, Adam, where something took longer than we anticipated? And perhaps they didn't know about it.
Well, because it's not an unusual thing to occur, it's hard to say whether what other projects suffered it. It's only really highlighted because it's been on the roadmap and it's actually been there for a while. But it's not, like I was saying, it's not necessarily that something with the 313 has taken a long time. Yeah. It's just that priorities change, projects move around. There could be, and I'm merely being hypothetical here and spitballing, it could be that the artist responsible for it got promoted or they went off sick or something.
Yeah.
There's many factors that cause movement that I'm a little surprised that there is upset about the fact that 313 has taken a long time, inverted commas, to come out, when, from the dev perspective, if you took all of the work that was done and lined it up, it probably took no longer than any other project. Mm-hmm. It just was spread out over a longer period of time.
And it's just been more visible for longer.
Yeah, and that is actually a benefit of the roadmap. You can see what we're doing. You can see what we're up to.
Now, the other one in production is the West Cornwall Penzance to St. Austell and St. Ives.
Mm.
I've seen people very excited about that one, and that one is developed by Rivet Games.
Yes, they're coming back to the UK. Having enjoyed developing the Glasgow route, I think they wanted to do something else British as well. So yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Well, hopefully it'll be great, and we'll have more. Well, I don't think we have anything scheduled to show it off just yet. But I don't doubt we will host a stream so that everybody gets to preview it.
Yes, definitely, yeah.
Now, in production, we've had quite a few new additions, Adam, into in production, and I believe some of these fall under your remit. So obviously the improved cloud visuals, you mentioned that earlier.
Yes, yeah.
That's the work you've been doing with London Midland.
Yep.
Yep. Then we have the Dovetail Live Mastery Rewards.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. So that is it's more of the same so far. So there's going to be scenery additions that you'll gain access to. The 4 routes that we're currently working on are West Somerset Railway, Rus Ignored, Rapid Transit, and Peninsula Corridor. So they're the 4 active routes that are currently getting their mastery editions. They are not train liveries. They are route scenes that we'll be adding in those.
Thank you for clearing that up. And then we've got add new Skybox to preserve collection. Again, that falls under the work you're doing with London Midland. Yeah. And add road traffic to preserve collection. Now, we haven't spoken about that yet. Does that apply to everything?
Yes, yeah, so that's one of the key features. This is the animated traffic. In the earlier routes, we didn't have any traffic moving around on the roads. So that's something that I think came in with the Long Island Railroad release, and we've been putting that into the older routes ever since.
Okay. And then the last one that's been added to in production as a new entry is the preserved collection to the Epic Games Store. Now, I actually have a few questions for you about this because, well, when I first started at Dovetail, it was when all the preserved collection was being ported over, and I can tell you it was painful. Is it going
It didn't go as expected.
No, it was very much a baptism of fire when I first started, I must say. Is it going to be that bad for Epic?
So my current understanding, and obviously I'm good at spelling errors, and I'm not the person that is ultimately behind this, but basically the upgrade that we went from Unreal Engine 416 to 423 actually required us to edit a lot of the routes and the trains to make them compatible. And that was the crux of the problem that we found in the original release of the Preserved Collection when it was created.
Yeah.
So my understanding, that is not the case with the Epic Games Store. It is just seen as another hardware platform, although obviously it's on PC, so it's very similar to Steam. From Valve. So it's my understanding, and I this could be wrong, it is simply a case of building it for the Epic Games Store and releasing them. So the expectation is that all the collection will be released in one go. I'm not aware of any staggered releases. I'm not aware of any upgrade requirements. And if there was, then I'd be the first one to know, because it's my team that's got to be able to do it. So
yeah, so obviously we're talking... This is still a case of it's in production, so there's nothing set in stone just yet with regards to the release. But from where you're sat, it's practical to release them all at once. We're not promising that'll happen, but that's how you can foresee it coming out.
Exactly, yeah. So this boils down to the build team. They coordinate getting things out on PC. They coordinate getting things out on consoles. They have to line up and get release windows, and it will probably depend on how much capacity the QA team have, whether that platform owner, such as Microsoft, Sony, or Epic, want us to drop that many products on in one go.
Yeah, because
so there are a lot of factors involved for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. So obviously when we get a bit closer to the time, that's when we'll be able to offer some more concrete answers as to how it will be released. But everything is going on to Epic, which is great.
Yeah, I think one of the key reasons that it wasn't released initially, or they weren't available initially, again, is because of that slot capacity in how much stuff can be released at any one time.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, on the list, we also have the Sherman Hill, which has moved
Mm,
up. Adam, that's by us.
mm.
With the
That's really cool.
SD70 ACE and the SD40-2.
Yes, you've got a lovely new, large, beefy American loco there. Looking forward to that one being in the game for sure.
Is it the SD70 that's the beefy one?
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah, that's closer to your ES44 size locomotive, although I believe it is a smaller locomotive than the ES44.
Mm-hmm.
But it's definitely it's up there with the large. I think the the ACE version is a wide comfort cab as well. So that's another cool one to go. Whereas a large amount of our US locomotives tend to be the high nose,
Mm-hmm.
where you've got little windows either side. So yeah.
Martin Ashwell has asked, will the SD40-2 be the same one from Cane Creek?
That will be a question for the Sherman Hill development team. Yeah, that's probably a Matt Pedalston question
That is a
when
Matt
we
Pedalston
stream about.
question.
Yeah, when we
I
stream
will
about.
ask him for you, Martin, and find out. And then we've also got that's moved up, which is another American freight route, the Horseshoe Curve, and this one's being
Mm,
developed by Skyhook Games.
mm. Yes, another awesome route. Really glad to see it in the next gen of train simulation.
Yeah.
I was part of the team that brought that to the first the Train Sim 2022, and we did it, I think, in a different era. I think it
Yep.
was in an older era when Pennsylvania Railroad or Penn Central were on the line. So yeah, I don't th I is it can't tell from there whether it's going to be a modern take on the route or not. But yeah, it's a fantastic route, really amazing piece of infrastructure. Really good to see it in the new version.
And I'm sure the community are wondering why we're doing two American freight routes at once, and this actually this falls into how things move around.
Very
You
much so.
mentioned it earlier, the 313, it moved.
Yeah.
So this is a case of things have moved around again, and it's just so happened that the two American freight routes are going to coincide with each other relatively closely. And
Well, at the moment it says they're in production, so
yeah, that could
when it
change.
gets to next arrival and upcoming, depending on what's going on there. Now, what you have got different here is that it's actually two different developers
Yes.
that happen to be working on US routes at the same time. So anything goes really. They could come out together, they could be separated. Only time will tell when they come closer to release.
Absolutely. Absolutely. But I'm definitely looking forward to seeing them.
I did see a question or a statement about, are these two freight routes no more than 20 miles an hour single
Yeah,
track
that was
routes?
asked by Chief Longshin. Are these two freight routes more than 20 mph single track ones? Do you know?
Yeah, so I believe they are definitely multi-track. From memory, Sherman Hill has multiple passes over the summit, but what I can't remember is if each of those passes is multiple track or not. And certainly from the period version that we did of Horseshoe Curve, there was something like 4 tracks over the main Horseshoe Curve area, and that's actually a rail fanning spot right in the middle.
Mm-hmm.
So I definitely know it's more than 1 track for sure. But they are very busy routes, both of them. So I can't imagine they would be slow single track routes.
Yeah. Now, is there something else you wanted to talk to us about with regards to the preservation crew and what your team are working on? Something else on your list we haven't touched on yet?
Well, also on our radar is Rail Driver.
Yes.
So actually, I was sharing the forum topic where they keep track. It's a wonderful topic that actually we use to verify our own progress.
And is that the thread that's like all color coordinated and everything?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, the guys put a lot of effort into it, so really impressive there. And yeah, we've been using it to cross-reference. So we've got 18 locomotives still on the preserve collection that don't have rail drive support. I saw earlier some questions about will the high-speed train, will the Class 166 ever get rail driver support? And the answer is yes. So that is Martin He hasn't made an appearance yet on these roadmap streams. Obviously, both Jake and Adam have.
Yep.
But Martin is currently busy spending October completing those 18 locomotives to get them rail drive support as well. Obviously, a lot of what we've been discussing this evening about are we getting this route upgraded, we're getting that feature added. The key thing I'm not talking about here is when this stuff will come out.
Yes.
So we are doing this work, and it is stuff that is ongoing right now, but it is still the responsibility of a different team to actually get it released. So please do bear that in mind. We might be talking about this stuff in October, but depending on what the scheduling release is, depending on when we can get stuff released, it could well be a few months. I just want to make sure everyone's aware of that. Yeah.
Bjorn Gronel has asked maybe a question for Adam. This is definitely a question for Adam, as it's to do with the preserved collection. Will preserved routes get more AI train traffic? Some stations feel empty due to the lack of this. The 166, for example, on London Commuter is a great example of how this should be. Joe's set the bar pretty high there. Hagen HBF feels empty, in particular on RSN and RRO. So I get the feeling this is going to be asked quite a lot now, because London Commuter has, like I said, set the bar extremely high, because there are over, I think it's 4,000 services.
1,400.
No, 4,000 with
4,
AI. It's 1,400 playable, but it's 4,000 total with AI. So if we're talking about AI, is it something we can increase? Is it something that your team are able to do, or is that just unachievable?
I would probably sit more on the spectrum of it's unachievable, mostly because we have to, again, judge it on a case-by-case basis. Some of the older routes may have been built in a way or signalled in a way that we just can't fit that amount of traffic on them.
Yep.
It may be to do with performance. We have to take that into account.
Yeah.
So everything has to be judged on a case-by-case basis. I won't say no, because funnily enough, I have been having conversations with Joe and the Preserve Collection.
Okay, hold on.
There's no way we could promise that we would upgrade
there we go.
every route.
That's what I needed you to say. We can't promise it. I was a bit worried there that you made it sound like it was happening tomorrow.
Yeah, I mean, things like upgrading or providing an extra timetable for rapid transit was because the scope allowed it. Being able to make some improvements to West Somerset's timetable was because the content, the route, the timetable, the data allowed it. Whereas something like Long Island Railroad, the signalling system could not cope with us changing that timetable. And obviously one of the key fundamental things we have to do first and foremost is preserve everybody's progress. It's no good having an upgrade, say, to Great Western Express that completely trashes people's progress over the last few years. So there's a lot of factors that we have to take into account when looking at this and what is possible.
Gareth Hubble has actually just made a really good point, which is that Joe did actually create that timetable over a very long period of time, and he also did a lot of it in his spare time and his own time, as it was a massive passion project for him. So that is why London Commuter in particular is so large as far as the timetable is concerned. But we do understand why everybody is loving it and why you'd want more on other routes.
You've also got to think that we had a lot of the rolling stock already available to be able to use. So, for instance, the 166 that doesn't form part of that lineup of the London Commuter is available from another DLC. The Class 66 that doesn't form part of that lineup is available from another DLC. Mm-hmm. When London Commuter was being designed, the goal was to put in an awful lot of traffic. So from the outset, the project is designing to provide a timetable like that. Whereas if we go back to something like Great Western Express, we developed the Class 166. There are only 21 Class 166 locomotives or multiple units in existence. Mm-hmm. So there are only 21 Class 166s running around on that route. The high-speed trains that provide the express services, they, are more numerous, but they also don't stop along the route. So the stock that created that timetable was built, with
Yeah.
the design that came with that route. What we can do going forward is something that we'd need to establish, when we get to investigating each of those routes.
Now I'm seeing a few people in the chat asking about Steam, if there's any news about it, if there are any updates. The short answer is no. I don't have anything new to share with regards to Steam today. But when we do, we'll probably post an article alongside it and get you all excited.
Yeah.
But today there is no news.
Yeah. We love to talk about this stuff. Like I've said already on a few occasions, we are enthusiasts. We're doing this because we love it. So we want to talk about this stuff. We won't be holding stuff back inappropriately. If there is stuff to talk about, then we will find an opportunity to talk about it.
Yeah. And Russian Olge. Oh, guys, names killing me. Has asked any fixes on Xbox crashing. So Xbox crashing, I'm not too familiar with, but I am aware of some issues regarding. Sorry, let me try again. I'm aware of some issues for Xbox users, primarily the texture issue. We're well aware that is still a problem, and we're trying to fix it, but we don't currently have a date for that yet. But we are working on it. And then while we're on the topic of Xbox, it is also worth mentioning that we are well aware of the Xbox sound issues. This gets mentioned quite a lot because obviously on Xbox the sound it gets ported through differently and it ruins what would otherwise be good sounds. This is a massive job. It's not something that we're going to be able to get fixed within a few days. It's the kind of thing that's going to take months to fix, and we are working on it. We're looking to get it fixed, but it just means that you have to wait, and it's rubbish that you have to wait, and we know it's rubbish that you have to wait. But yeah, we are well aware of that, and we are working on it. But it just means that the Xbox sound problems are not going to be fixed before London Commuter, and I know that a few people have asked about that, so I thought it's worth clearing up.
Mm. And that's not to say they don't have priority either.
No,
so
it's not.
I'm aware a lot of this stuff is being investigated. There are a lot of people that work on this stuff at Dovetail. They're not all squirreled away already. There are people that can take on this stuff. It is an ongoing thing. We want this fixed as quickly as possible.
Absolutely.
It's not something we're putting the release of another DLC ahead of. This stuff matters a lot. Making sure the game works for everybody is a very high priority.
And then the other high priority item I obviously need to talk about is PlayStation 5 users that are still having difficulties accessing their add-ons, and there has been a fair bit of concern that when London Commuter gets released, that DLC isn't going to show up on day one. So we have an update with this. It has been pinned in the PlayStation section of the forums. It's very detailed, but I'll give everybody a summary of what's causing the problem if you haven't seen it yet, and what you should do before London Commuter if you're concerned that the add-on isn't going to show up. So the problem comes from the fact that on PlayStation 5 you are allowed a maximum of 64 gigabytes worth of add-ons. So if you have I don't know how many add-ons, let's say you have 10 add-ons and they total up to 65 gigabytes, one of them is going to go missing. It'll go missing at random so that you then have the space to play the other add-ons. You'll still own it. It's just not going to show up as something that you're able to play. And this 64 gigabytes is different to the core game. So it's 64 gigabytes of add-ons, not 64 gigabytes and your core, which could be, I don't know, let's say 100 gigabytes. Now, we were hoping to have a fix or a temporary fix for this before the London commuter was released. We're not going to be able to get that out before the London commuter is released. So what you need to do is uninstall any add-ons that you're perhaps not using at the moment, you're not interested in using. Uninstall it temporarily while you want to play London commuter if your add-on total is over 64 gigabytes. And we understand it's incredibly frustrating having to ask you to uninstall things. We don't want to have to be asking you to do this. But it's the best way to get yourselves playing the new stuff in the meantime. We are also obviously going to be looking at a longer term fix. But we don't have any news on that yet. So I understand the frustration, understand everybody's been so patient leading up to this. So thank you to everybody that's helped us as well. If you're having any difficulties, please let us know. Does it apply to PS4? It does not apply to PS4. This is a PlayStation 5 only issue at the moment. If it does affect PS4, we will let you know. But just so everybody knows what's going on there.
Someone asked a great question there. Is that 64 gigabyte limit on DLC across all games that you own, or is it on a per title basis?
As far as I'm aware, it's per title. I don't.
So you could actually have 3 or 4 titles with each with a 64 gigabyte limit.
Well, yeah,
that's an interesting one.
Potentially, I don't think we've had anybody try that. If that does, I can't see why it would affect it. It would be a bit unfair.
It does seem like there's some kind of mathematical reason why it's 64 gigabytes.
I'm sure there's a reason for it. But if you do find that your other games are impacting it as well, or if your other games are pushing your total over that amount, maybe consider uninstalling them as well if you find that is a problem. But at the moment, there's been no reports of other games impacting this. And like I said, this was very much a summary of the issue. There's more detailed explanation pinned on the forums. I will actually post that link in the chat right now. There you go. So feel free to go and have a look at that if you want more details with regards to that issue. Cool. And then anything else you would like to talk about, Adam?
Seeing a few questions about will the preservation crew give other routes a freight overhaul, much the same as Dresden Riesa got. Again, like with doing any kind of timetable update or improvement or expansion, it's a case-by-case basis. Mm-hmm. So we'd need to look at the routes. I am currently looking at what we can do with Great Western Express. No plans, no idea what we can or can't do, but is there anything? What are we looking at as part of the preservation crew update? So yeah, no real single straight answer on that. We have to look at each one. And I did see another question, but it's gone for now. Okay. So
Piper Minuta says DBBR187. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
It's in. Where is it in, actually? It's in Next Arrival? No?
It's definitely coming soon. Yeah, it's
in Next Arrival. Soon, yeah, the 187 is in Next Arrival. And hopefully you'll get to see it soon enough. But yes.
Yes, that was the question there. Will the Great Western Express ever get the platform information system? Yes, it will. Yeah, that is something we're doing. Again, I cannot say when that will occur, but it is definitely on the to-do list right now of all the preserved routes. And that's actually a point for Northern Transpennine and for Tees Valley Line. We have to look at different artwork, custom artwork for the PIS system, because being set in the 80s, LED scrolling panels are going to be quite out of place there. So Adam Shikowski, who will be on the next roadmap, is currently looking at what we need to do there, because we're probably looking at is it CRT monitors? We're looking at the big yellow hanging monitors for those routes, and how we can get those in. And obviously that will then lead into what we do for something like West Somerset, where they don't have any kind of platform information system other than a chalkboard with times on it. So yeah,
I would love it if you could do that though. You know, like recreate the chalkboard. That would look brilliant.
Yeah, and that's the kind of thing we want to do. You know, we want to enjoy these routes. We want them to be authentic. We're not just going to slap in the artwork that we have it. I know we didn't quite get things right on Long Island Railroad,
Yeah.
and we've definitely learned some really good lessons from that. We're still working on Peninsula Corridor, for example, of how to improve that so that it's not just a carbon copy. But you know, this is something that we really enjoy doing, and the guys on the Preserve crew absolutely love doing this stuff. They love reading the feedback. They love reading the suggestions. We're going to do everything we can to make it authentic.
I actually have a question with regards to the authenticity as well. So obviously we mentioned earlier how you're planning on adding dioramas into the preserved collection. Like that's something you want to do.
Not particularly the dioramas. No,
Not
that
the
fell
dioramas.
outside of scope.
Okay.
But we have done the data updates to make sure the variety of passengers is in there, that they have peak and off-peak periods.
There we go.
I'm pretty sure winter, so their clothing changes slightly if it's in winter
Yes.
season. That is also part of the upgrade as well. So yeah.
Excellent. There was another question which has just lost me. I hate it when that happens. I do have a question for you, because obviously we've got other Adam on the next roadmap. What kind of questions should the community tailor towards him? Because obviously he's going to have a specific knowledge. Is it all arty stuff or?
Yes. Yeah, so Adam is an environment artist. His job is to create the assets and place them in the world, tidy up and fix elements of scenery that have been less than desirable, go in, create the PIS system, install the level crossings. So artwork and art installation into the routes, environment-based stuff. There'll be cool questions. You know, why does doing the better rendered track take significantly less time than adding all the level crossings in? Why is it difficult to change the font on the platform information systems, and yet we can easily change a texture on a poster? You know, stuff like that. So it is going to be a little more technical than the things I do, and probably a little more limited in terms of his scope of understanding of all the different trains. But yeah, it's gonna. I'm excited. It's going to be a good insight into what it takes. This is somebody on the ground in the trenches, you know, implementing this stuff on a daily basis. So yeah, it's going to be cool to have him on and get first-hand experience.
Cramner 91 has actually just reminded me of something as well. So what about the announcement of the next German route? No word about it so far. You are absolutely right. So apparently it was mentioned that you were expecting an announcement for this roadmap. Obviously that hasn't happened, and it is just a case of we're not quite ready to add it yet. But I have been told
said no, I'm guessing.
Well, I've been told it's soon, so that's really helpful. But yeah, sorry that it wasn't announced tonight or today. But yeah, it will be soon. And then before we go, because I think we're nearing the end of the stream.
Yeah, we covered a lot of topic.
I can actually confirm that the PlayStation 5 core and the Xbox One, Xbox Series SX core, with the Dresden Boston fixes should be making its way out now. So I hope you will get a nice, lovely update after this stream, which is wonderfully timed.
And at least for those in the UK, you can leave it updating overnight.
Exactly.
That's certainly what I leave my PC doing.
Thank you for joining us again, Adam. It's been a pleasure, because obviously we haven't seen you in a while.
Love being here. Yeah, love to be able to exchange.
Yeah, but you're abandoning us for the next one.
Yes, I have some prior business away from the office, so.
I will allow it. Anyway,
but I'm replacing you with another Adam.
Yeah,
so,
yeah, that's fine. That's fine. As long as we've got an Adam, that's all that matters.
Cool. Well, you know, I hope I bring something over, a different Adam, but yeah.
Absolutely. Well, thank you to everybody that joined us on the stream tonight as well. Tomorrow is Wednesday, so it's another preview of the London Commuter. If you've got any questions from the previous stream, or if there's any questions that have just cropped up that you'd like to know about the London commuter, there is a sticky thread in the suggestions. Please do ask away, and the team will do their best to answer as many as they can. And then on Thursday we have the launch, obviously with the launch stream, and on Friday the 1938 stock. So it's a good day. It's a good week of streams for this one.
Actually, that's a point I saw recently on social media, that Rivet Games had put out some articles about how the 1938 stock differs from the Isle of Wight 483 stock. So if you do have any concerns about, Rivet are just shipping us the same train, do check out their social media, because they have put details in. They are two different trains. They do share a lot of similarities, but they are two different trains. And yeah, there's some great material out that Rivet have put in to show you the difference of how they differ.
And just a quick clarification on the updates. The PlayStation 5 will not currently be getting the Boston and Dresden update. That will be coming later on. It is the Xbox which are getting those updates now, but you will still get a core update for PlayStation 5. Excellent. All right then.
Awesome stuff.
Thank you to everybody for joining us, and we will see you soon. Good night from me.
Goodbye.